Welcome to Mad Toast Live, recorded in front of a live audience. We're at the Brink Lounge, 701 East Washington Avenue, right down the hill from the Capitol Building in Madison, Wisconsin. We're your hosts. I'm Mary Gaines, and this is Chris Wagoner.
Hi, I'm struggling to put my mandolin on here. Thank you for coming tonight. We're thrilled to be here with Barb Ryman, great singer-songwriter from the Twin Cities area. Her new release, Catch the Sunset, is available at CD Baby. Barb Ryman.
I'm tired of looking back, a prisoner of what I lack. I'm fed up with everything that leaves me feeling down and out. I'm shaking off the old debris. I'm giving up the poor old me, no more blaming the family tree. I'm living life authentically, and I don't even know the way I go from here, but one thing's clear. The path reveals itself as I clear this clutter out, and every breath is getting lighter, every outlook so much brighter for my heart's desire. I'm throwing out old magazines with stories about broken dreams. I'm turning off the voice that screams life is hard and love is lost. I'm cleaning out the dirt and dust of excuses like fear and trust, and going where I know I must to have my great adventure. And I don't even know the way I go from here, but one thing's clear. As I clear this clutter out, and every breath is getting lighter, every outlook so much brighter for my heart's desire. I'm sweeping up the shards of glass from broken hearts along my past. Love is just way too fast to try and hold it back. I'll take each piece and build a new brand mosaic in every hue, and hang it out for all to view. This is my life, I made it. I don't even know the way I go from here, but one thing's clear. The path reveals itself as I clear this clutter out, and every breath is getting lighter, every outlook so much brighter for my heart's desire.
Well, welcome to Madison.
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
You bet.
Yeah.
It's, I don't remember how we got in touch originally, but I'm glad you're here. That you've been performing. There was a hiatus in your career at some point, right? You took about 20 years off.
Yeah, like about 20-year hiatus.
Yeah.
So I got started kind of late in life. I played in my high school, college days, and then it was career, family, children, all that, and I kind of put the guitar in the closet, and about 20 years later I started feeling the void, so I pulled it out, and actually that's how I became a songwriter, because I had forgotten how to play my old covers that I had played in my youth. So I had to write my own.
That's a good way to do it.
And that's what I did.
Well, you have such a beautiful voice. It sounds as if you've been singing the entire time.
Well, thank you. But, yes.
Crystal clear.
Yeah.
So I'm going to embarrass you a little bit here.
Okay.
Okay. You don't have to listen
All right.
to this.
Plugging my ears.
But after taking that hiatus, you came back. You did record an album, the first album, Winds of Good Fortune. Is that right? That was before you kind of took a break for a while.
No, that was after my long break.
That was your
That
comeback.
was my first CD.
Okay.
That was put out in '92, I think it was. So I've been at it now for. I took 20 years off, and now I've been back at it for 20 years.
Well, for the first CD, that was great. You got a nice write-up in Dirty Linen magazine. It's not easy to get write-ups in some of these top acoustic folk magazines, Dirty Linen, and some of the
I was
Americana.
very fortunate that way.
But several CDs, Lay Me Open, Like a Tree, Falling Down to Heaven, Earthbound, and Catch the Sunset, all available at CD Baby now?
They're all there. That's right.
Okay.
And also, I think some are at Amazon.com, and there's links from my website as well. So.
Now, being on the scene in the Twin Cities, the most recent CD, Catch the Sunset, featuring some of the great players from the Midwest, including Prairie Home Companion musicians, Prudence Johnson, great vocalist on harmonies, and Peter Strushko on mando and fiddle. Yeah. I've known Peter, I'm not personally, but I've known of him for years and had a couple of his albums, and he's always been a great influence, and I'm glad to hear he's still...
Oh, yeah, he's a fabulous musician. Have you had him here at the...
No. Peter, if you're out there.
You got to get him. Yeah, he's fabulous. Yeah.
But he was, he still does a lot on Prairie Home Companion.
Yeah, he does. He's pretty regular on that, and then he's out touring quite a bit and playing a lot of festivals. And he's a busy guy.
How does the scene feel for you there? The fine line is for what you're doing.
I've played. My favorite venue is the Cedar Cultural Center. I've done a few of my CD releases there. It's a great venue and great sound and a dedicated audience that comes out for those shows.
Yeah.
And so there's some good venues and some really great musicians like Peter and Dan Newton and Prudence, There's a lot of wealth of great players.
Now, I haven't embarrassed you yet, but now I'm going to embarrass you. Some of your honors and awards, we'll talk about for a second. The 2007 New Song winner, Winfield Folk Festival. That's a big deal. 2002 winner of McKnight Composer Fellowship, awarded by American Composers Forum, and lots of Minnesota Music Award nominations. But the Winfield Folk Festival is really one of the iconic folk festivals in the country.
Yeah, it's a huge festival. I hadn't been there until I got, picked as a finalist. So I went down there and as a winner, and played at the festival, and I was just awestruck. It was great. It was just so much good music and so many young people too. It was great to see all the new young bluegrass bands and coming up the way, and a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Do you find, I've found that, doing this show, so many of the people that we have on, it seems like the better musician, the less ego there is involved. Have you found that? I mean, not always true, but largely, surprisingly, I find that's the case.
I think in folk, you wouldn't be in folk if you had a big ego, I don't think. It doesn't kind of go together. So.
I think that makes a lot of
I
sense.
think it's true.
Unless you're talking about me.
Oh, yeah. Well.
I don't know. No.
But those jazz musicians.
No,
They're a different story.
Would you like to play another one?
Sure. And thank you for accompanying me on that first one. And I would like you to play on this one as well. This is in honor of Halloween. Because, not that it has anything to do with Halloween, but the title of the song is Scary Mary, which feels like Halloween-y. But anyway, this Mary is an actual person. Her name is Mary Newman, and she lives not far from me in my hometown of Minneapolis. And she's an interesting character. She's an artist, and she went to a lot of extremes to try to get her art out into the world, and met with lots of rejection. So she finally resorted to literally painting her entire house
in her art, every square inch. And, you can't miss her house when you drive down this quiet little residential street and see her house. And she put sculptures out in the front yard. And so the name Scary Mary comes from some of her neighbors and detractors who didn't appreciate her art in the neighborhood. So thus the title. But I found her story quite inspiring. So.
An artist whose work was rejected 5,000 times. She says 5,000 times, and she was known as Scary Mary to those who like to whine. The art world and the galleries denied Mary a member card. So she displayed her artistry, and the only way that she knew how in her house became a canvas sculpture garden her front lawn. But some neighbors and alarmists wanted her to take it down, so they took their righteous grumblings to the city authorities, where they cowardly filed them in anonymity. An artist whose work was rejected 5,000 times. She says 5,000 times, and she was known as Scary Mary to those who like to whine. An Alice in Wonderland experience was Mary's place, exquisite in its intricate colored pattern interlace. But the local punks defaced it. The complainers had their say when the rulings of the city took her sculptures away. As a final humiliation, charged Mary a hefty bill for hauling her inspired works to the landfill. That is an artist whose work was rejected 5,000 times. She says 5,000 times, and she was known as Scary Mary to those who like to whine. The rejections and complaints lay bitter dark in Mary's heart, yet bright and whimsy paints animated her keen art. And the painful public struggle ends in a lovely twist of fate, for the conflict drew the art critics to put her work on their plate. They saw true originality in her stunning folk art imageries, and now her works hang in dignity in very fine art galleries. There is an artist whose work was rejected 5,000 times. She says 5,000 times.
I just love that song.
Thank you. I like that one too.
We played it twice this weekend.
Did you?
On our radio show.
Great. Yeah. Well, this song, I really appreciate those folks who came out tonight on a Tuesday night for a touring musician, and this is my audience appreciation song. I want to play it right now because it's based on a true story of when I was first getting started, 20 years ago in Minneapolis as a songwriter, and I was invited to play this venue called the Blue Guitar in Stillwater, Minnesota, and I was all excited because it was probably my first concert show, a nice listening room. So I got out there and all ready for the show, went out at 8 o'clock to play my show, and there before me were two people, Brian and Greg. I kind of got to know them. And I did this entire concert with an intermission for Brian and Greg, and afterwards Brian said, you should write a song about that, so I did. And it's called I'm Playing for Two at a club called the Blue Guitar in the town of Stillwater. It's the world's longest song title.
I'm playing for two at a club called the Blue Guitar in the town of Stillwater. It can seat 50 more, but all who show at the door are Greg and his friend Brian Cotter. Now it's strange when your life is half through and you realize no one's ever heard of you, 'cause you're starting out new and you're paying your due for taking so long to singing those songs. So I'm playing for two at a club called the Blue Guitar in the town of Stillwater. It can seat 50 more, but all who show at the door are Greg and his friend Brian Cotter. So I give them my very best show. I tell stories and some get to know both Brian and Greg, just like they were raised, my groupies from East Minnesota. And I thank them with each song I sing as I hear all their four hands clapping, and my spirits do soar as I hear the roars from Brian and Greg. If they had dates there'd be four, playing for two at a club called the Blue Guitar in the town of Stillwater. It can seat 50 more, but all who show at the door are Greg and his friend Brian Cotter. Now some laugh and say I am a failure to draw a crowd that's so small, but I can recall a gig in St. Paul where I got to play to no one at all. And that's where I learned about Zen, as I heard the sound of one hand clapping. So don't ever say it wasn't worth it to play to Brian and Greg. It was a good gig, playing for two at a club called the Blue Guitar in the town of Stillwater. It can seat 50 more, but all who show at the door are Greg and his friend Brian Cotter. It can seat 50 more, but all who show at the door are Greg and his friend Brian Cotter.
Do Greg and Brian still come to shows?
You know, they signed the mailing list. They're very enthusiastic,
Yeah.
and then shortly after they like moved away, my postcards would come back, you know, address unknown. So,
Yeah.
so either they gave me fake addresses, or
Well, Greg and Brian, if you're out there listening
yes,
tonight,
there's
this
a
was for
song
you.
about you.
From East Minnesota. Yeah. Do you know Peter and Lou Berryman? Are you familiar with them?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
because I mean,
They're
this
very
of
funny.
course, every time you hear a funny song, I think of Peter and Lou. But I mean, it totally would
Yeah.
fit on one of their albums. So it's great.
Yeah, it would fit.
Yeah.
So you were in. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying I'll have to give them that song in case they ever are playing to two people. You know? It's a great song for those situations, you know.
So you were out in Montana recently. just a few days ago.
Yeah, I've been on a whole tour to the Northwest. I've been out for 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks now. So I was played through South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming. What comes next? Washington, Seattle,
Yeah,
Oregon.
Yeah.
Then all the way coming back east. So yeah.
I like some of the venues you've played. I don't know if these are going to be on your tour now, but I noticed among some great clubs, Club Passim in Massachusetts,
Yeah.
of course, the Bluebird in Tennessee, some places definitely with people. But also I like this, Uncle Calvin's Coffee House in Texas and then Cousin Andy's Coffee House in Illinois. Are they related?
No, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I thought that section of the country, they must just like relatives or
Yeah,
something.
makes you feel good about yourself.
Makes it feel so at home and like you're with family, you know?
Good. Well, I'm cleared that up. I'm going to mark that
Okay.
off the list. Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, I thought I would do the new CD. I've been playing quite a few of the songs are from the new CD, Catch the Sunset, and the album is dedicated to my parents, who have both passed. My father many years ago, but he was this song was inspired by the fact that our country's at war, and I would really like to see us, end that kind of mentality that we have to go to war whenever to work things out, and so I wanted a song that kind of would get to people's hearts about it, not just another protest song, but a real heart level song, and because the costs are so great, and I know those costs because I lost my own father in the Cold War. He was a victim of the Cold War. Not too many people realize that there were casualties in that war, and he was one. So I write it in the voice of the fallen soldiers speaking to his daughter. It's called Soldier's Daughter.
Climbing on my knee, you taught me how love could be so free. You are my daughter and I was a soldier. I told you and your brother who was older that I'd be home again. But I never made it in. I was a casualty of an invisibly raging war. Cold War missions overseas, 6 months out I long to be with your mother and your son. But my plane went down I could return to you. But I still saw you from another place, and I remember your beautiful face turning into stone. Oh my, thousands of tears that were locked behind your eyes, but I could not get through. Oh my child, I love you. You were a refugee of an invisibly raging I saw you withdraw from your friends at play, when the conversations turned to Father's Day, I would whisper in your ear, I'm with you, please, please hear. And I saw you in Washington protesting the war, as your heart was breaking for the man you adored. There was nothing I could do as I watched history repeating in you. We were casualties of an invisibly raging war. It was a war nobody saw, but a war just like them all, leaving names engraved in stone, sons and daughters all alone. Thank you. Thank you very much. You've been underneath, and you know the feeling. It's hard to breathe, trampled under feet who don't even notice your defeat, but you will rise again like a gust of wind, like a snake that sheds its skin. You'll start anew. Sometimes falling down is the only way to find the ground, and while you are lying hurt, remember, this is how you were at your birth, and you will rise again like a gust of wind, like a snake that sheds its skin. You'll start anew. And when your tears have dried, and you've seen the faces of your wounded pride, you'll know that downward slide has left you a little stronger, a bit more wise, and you will rise again like a gust of wind, like a snake that sheds its skin. You'll start anew. You'll start anew.
Great song. You know, I don't think people discount sometimes how important it is to give words of encouragement once in a while. That's a wonderful thing. My neighbor, Rodney, yesterday came over, and just kind of out of the blue, he was showing me some pictures of things he'd done recently. And we got to talking, and it kind of, I don't know why it surprised me, it just kind of came out of the blue. And, you know, he said, you know, basically, yeah, keep doing what you're doing, man. It's great. It's like, wow, you know, that was great. I didn't realize I needed to hear that, but it is important.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
So there you
I
go.
mean, he's going to stop
There it is.
Every day.
stop killing our dandelions for us. No, just kidding.
Yeah. Let's see what else I got for you here. This is I'll stay a little bit on this political issue, this social issue, because, you know, I'm a folk singer and we like to do that. This particular song is on the new CD as well, and it's called Nursery Rhymes, and you might wonder, well, you know, what does that have to do with political social issues? But it actually has quite a bit to do, because I found out that nursery rhymes, a lot of them have their origins in the political events of their time. For example, you know, before the freedoms of speech that we have, they had to be sneaky in the way they would talk about the powers that be. So, for example, Jack and Jill Went Up the Hill is based on King Louis XVI's fall from the throne and his beheading, and the same fate following for his wife, Marie Antoinette. So Jill came tumbling after. So I like that concept, and I decided to incorporate it into kind of my this song about kind of what's going on in these days. So here we go.
Rockabye baby in the treetop, wind blows the cradle will rock, the bough breaks the cradle will fall, down come baby cradle and all. There was an old woman lived in a shoe, too many children to know what to do, gave them broth without any bread, whipped them all and sent them to bed. Fee-fi-fo-fum, I smell the blood of a common man. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, Humpty Dumpty had a fall. All the king's horses and his men couldn't put Humpty together again. So it is and so it goes, we recite the pretty prose, sending children off to bed with images of distress and dread, falling babies, falling eggs, hungry children who are beaten, not enough to fill their heads. How about giants who can eat them? You might say ban Mother Goose, better plan, let's ban the news, presented by the friendly group of corporate giants who like to feed you plates of fear and hopeless hope, a government they bought and sold. They dress it up, they've got the gravy to fatten you and make you lazy. So it is and so it goes, we turn on the TV pros, sending ourselves off to bed with images of distress and dread, falling markets, rising debt, record profits to corporate heads, not enough to wake us up. How about giants who can eat us? Here's a toast to Mother Goose. She was trying to tell the truth. For many of those nursery rhymes were tales of ruling power crimes. Folks could tell and avoid jail by about the monsters of our time. Fee-fi-fo-fum, I smell the fat of a corporate one. Fell off the top of a giant beanstalk, now in pieces still as a rock. All the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't put that so together again. Same thing happened to the rest of his kind. That's the end of this nursery rhyme.
And thank you, Chris and Mary, for that lovely...
Just like we rehearsed it.
Oh, yeah. They surprised me with that. Nice. Thank you.
Do you have a background in literature? I mean, as a songwriter, as a lyricist?
No, not really, but I just know things. I pick things up along the way.
Yeah.
I've just lived a long time, I guess. Yeah.
It says you have a previous career as a speech pathologist.
Yes, I did that for 28 years, in fact.
Wow.
Working with special needs kids, and it was wonderful work. I loved it, and working with the kids, and I started once I picked up the music, though I was getting pulled that way. It was some of the I could have stayed with the speech working with the kids, but the other part of that whole system kind of got to me, all the paperwork and all that.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
So,
you
it was
think you
very
could-
rewarding work, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think you could work with me a little bit after the show?
You've got some special needs.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I've got a song inspired by my work with those kids. We could do it now or later, but where are we on time?
Yeah, we have time for one more. This is a part of a two-part series here with Barb Ryman.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
why don't we do that? Yeah.
Sure.
This is inspired by, I was so happy because, I was doing music and the speech therapy for a good, 10 years before I went off and went full-time with the music. And I forgot what I was going to say about that. Anyways, I was really happy that I finally was inspired to write a song, because I find these children so inspirational. And this one in particular is about a little girl named Mara Beth, who I worked with her entire elementary career. She came to kindergarten, and shortly into her kindergarten year, she was diagnosed with brain tumors. So they had to do this radical kind of surgery to save her, which they did. However, it left her with quite a bit of impairment and brain injury. She had paralysis. She had, a lot of trouble with her speech, and it affected her memory in a very big way. So the challenge in teaching her was how to get the information in and have her hold on to it, because she just could not hold on to it. And music was a beautiful method for her, because that's another part of the brains. And so whenever Mara Beth had something to learn, I would, write it into a little song, and we'd sing it together, and it worked out beautifully. And anyway, she was graduating from 6th grade, and so I wrote this song about her.
step stronger than the last. Margaret has found out how to live and breathe in the now. Past and future fade away as Margaret greets each new day. All the things we take for granted, life never handed. Margaret. With the things that truly matter, she is a master graduate. I have noticed when she speaks, with every person that she meets, she brings a smile across their face. They slow down the pace and find the simple joy of life between the noise and the strife. Those with eyes become aware of the gift that Mara shares. All the things we take for granted, life never handed. Mara Beth. With the things that truly matter, she is a master graduate. I have taught her 7 years. I have seen her parents' tears, the sorrow and the happiness wrapped round this child who's blessed with all the things that truly matter, the love and laughter and holiness. I have the wisdom of the sages down through the ages has come to rest.
Thank you.
Barb Ryman. Barb's CD, Catch the Sunset, her latest, available at CD Baby, as well as the rest of them. This is the first of a two-part series with Barb. We'll be back shortly. But you can go to Barb Ryman, BARBRYMAN, barbryman.com to find out where she's been, where she's going, what she's been up to. And thank you all for coming. Thanks to Andy LaValle, Bear Sound, our technical producer, Adam Baranek, our audio intern, Mr. Mark Herod, ticket sales.
Thanks to the Brink Lounge and WORT 89.9.
Thank you for listening.
See you next time.